What's up guys, this is Paul Mayson. I'm in the Cruise Control Studios in Amsterdam right now to show you guys how to produce my new record. It's called Rebellion on Fedele Grand's label Flamingo Recordings. It's together with Nana da Seal, and I'm excited to show you guys how I produce the track, so let's get into it. Alright, so let's start with the intro. I always start with a kick drum. I'll show you guys the kick drum. I use really short kick drums because the shorter my kick drum is, the more space I have for my bass line and for my percussion elements to do its work. So for groovier tracks, I prefer to use a shorter kick drum. So that's kind of how the intro starts. On top of the kick drum, there's some claps. 3 layers of claps. Processing wise, there's some stereo widening on it to make it sound a little bit wider in the mix. There's some EQ on it to remove all the low frequencies, because you don't want your claps to get in the way of your kick drum. And on top of that, there's a little bit of reverb and a small sidechain so that the kick really hits through and it doesn't interfere. So that's kind of the start of the intro. Then I think after like 15 seconds there's some percussion coming in. Sounds like this. It's like 5 layers of different tones. I'll play them individually. And yeah, it really adds groove to the track. Because without it, it's just a plain kick and a clap, but with some toms around it, the track kind of starts to groove. So yeah, to get that result is pretty important to add some percussion around it. Then if I play the rest of the intro, there's a new sound coming in after 30 seconds. It's this one. It's actually a sound that I use a lot. It's from Silent, and it's kind of a build-up sound. And there's a pitch function in Silent that I use a lot, just to pitch up the sound so that it really builds up into my drops. So that way I can build some tension towards the first drop. So that worked really well. Let me see, then after, I think it's after 1 minute, that the kick disappears, and then there's some snares coming in, building up to the first drop. And as a layer under my snares, I always use kick drums, and I filter out all the high frequencies, so I just use the low end of the kick drum. And that way it layers up to the snare, and it makes the snare sound a little bit fuller in the low end. So yeah, I kind of do that with all my tracks. So together with the snares and some effects and some uplifters, this is kind of how I built the intro. And yeah, let's get on with the first drop. Let's start with the most important element, I think, to this track is the lead melody. It sounds like this. It's made in Contact. It's based on a trumpet kind of sound, and it's actually bouncer audio here. It's 5 layers. I'll show you the layers individually. And together it just adds more volume to the sound. So we kind of started with one sound from Contact first, but then we kind of felt like we needed some more layering to make the sound fuller. So yeah, we layered the sound, mixed it a little bit, and this way, yeah, the the lead sounds has quite some more impact than it has when you just use one layer. So we did that, and that's kind of the most important thing for the drop, because it really sets the theme for the track. Then on top of that, what really makes the track more interesting is that it's really groovy. And yeah, without the groove it sounds a bit plain, a bit simple. So what I did was add a lot of percussion on it. These are the individual sounds. I'll play them. Yeah, so it's like 8 layers of percussion and toms, and it really builds around the kick, so that so that there's some more groove in the track. And you know, if you play it without it, the track sounds a lot more plain and simple and a bit boring. But with the percussion, the track really starts to groove. So it was quite an important element to add. So that's kind of the basis of the track. Then under the lead melody there's a sub bass playing. It sounds like this. Don't know if you can hear it well, but because it's really a low frequency sound. But it's just a simple sine from Silent, playing a simple melody. It's not playing the same melody as the lead sound, because for a sub bass it's often sounds better if you play a little bit simpler melody. So it's just straight notes, and at the end it goes 1 or 2 notes down. And for the sub it's all about, you know, making it work together with the kick. So there's a sidechain on it, just a simple sidechain, to make it work together well with the kicks, because you want your kick to hit first and then you want your sub to come up. Also in the EQ there's quite an extreme cut, as you can see. I only use the part between 50 and 100 Hz, as you can see here. That's actually because I want my kick drum to have the most impact, so I let my kick drum hit in this region mainly, and I don't want my bass line to go lower than 50 Hz, because when it goes lower than 50 Hz then it kind of interferes with the kick drum, and I don't want that to happen. So that's why I remove all the frequencies under 50 Hz. And also I removed everything above 100 Hz, because that's where I want my trumpets and my other sounds to play. So I just really use a small part of the full spectrum, because I really want to layer up my sounds and make them all fit together in the track. So then after 15 seconds there's a vocal coming in. Sounds like this. And it kind of adds a little bit of variation to the track. It makes it a bit more interesting. I think it's from a simple sample pack. Yeah. It sounds really weird, but I just cut it into pieces and only used the sounds that I wanted to use to add some variation to the track. So I did that and just put I think a small reverb on it, and some stereo widening to make it sound a little bit wider in the stereo. Then on top of that there's a new melody coming in, another top melody. It's this one. I think there's a filter on it. So that's actually a new melody that starts to play after 15 seconds, and really adds some extra energy to the track, what it really needs. It's also based on a sound in Contact. It's kind of a horn kind of sound that plays some long notes. Processing wise, there's some distortion on it, blood overdrive, camel fat, to make it sound a little bit more aggressive. Then there's some stereo enhancing. It's this one, to make it sound a little bit wider. And then I added a gator on it. It's kind of an interesting tool. It's from Growsbeat. There's a function inside the plugin called Gate, and what it does, it cuts up the sounds into smaller pieces. So if you play it without, it's one big long note, and then if you add this, yeah, it gets some more groove. So it kind of cuts up the sounds and makes it more groovy. And for this sound, that really worked well. And then on top of that, to make the sound a little bit more aggressive and stick it out in the mix, I added some extra layers of synths. Just really high synths to make it more aggressive. And yeah, that's kind of it for the first drop. So yeah, I think we can move on to the breakdown. The idea for the track kind of began with this vocal. I'll play it solo. So it really has that weird kind of African vibe, and we really like that because it really sets like a theme for the track. So we started with that, and around that I produced a break. What I did was play some melodies around it. Kind of started with this arpeggio kind of sound. It's just a really simple sound, and I just played a quick melody on it. That works really well together with the chords. So on top of that we have chords. There's filter on it, I think, yeah. So it kind of fills in the spectrum a little bit more. There's this synth called Simplant. I use it a lot because it really has some really weird atmospheric kind of sound. So yeah, it's a pretty cool plugin. So that's melody wise kind of what I did around the vocal. Then there is some percussion around it. So the percussion really gives it a little bit more tension, makes it a bit more interesting to listen to. Then there's also some snares coming in. Which just adds some more groove to the break. Yeah, so that's kind of the basis, I think, to the breakdown. And then after the first part where the melody and the vocal comes in, then there's just a build up to the second drop. And the build up is kind of the same as the first build up to the first drop. The snares come in. We have this sound again. I'll play it solo. It's the uplifting kind of sound from Silent that I use a lot. I pitch it up so that it builds up to the first drop. Then there's just some snares around it, some uplifters, and yeah, the trumpet sounds from the drop. It starts here and it starts really filtered, so it comes in slowly, and then in the second drop the filter goes off and you hear the full sound. So yeah, so that's kind of all the important elements for the breakdown. So I think we can move on to the second drop. I'll play a small part of it. It's really based on all the same elements as in the first drop. The difference is though that there's just some more added stuff, like some impacts to give a little bit more energy. And then also on top of the trumpet melody, there's also the top melody. It doesn't come in after 15 seconds, but it comes in right away from the start to give it some more energy. And yeah, altogether that just makes the second drop a little bit more interesting, and yeah, just a a bit more energetic. So altogether it sounds like this. Tering mijn pis, jongen.